Ahoy ahoy crew. Today I'm going to go over how to theorycraft your own build. And while this process can be a little bit long sometimes, it can be incredibly helpful to do, since it'll help you set goals on what gear you need to farm and enchant and upgrade. So the first thing you should do is decide on your class and then your main damage skill. Once you know the skill that you want to use, you need to think about its attributes. What I mean by that is the fixed cast time, variable cast time, after cast delay, and the skill cooldown. You also want to keep in mind whether your skill does ranged physical, melee physical, or magical damage. And if it does magical, figure out what elements it can do. Step 1 is to reduce your skill cooldown as much as possible. Keep in mind, not all skills have options to reduce the cooldown. It's mainly just like third job skills, and not really all of those have it. Skill cooldown reduction appears mainly on weapons, weapon enchantments, class shadow gears, and costume enchantments. Step 2 is to cover your fixed cast time. You will want to reduce this to 0. You also may want to look at your other buffs that your class uses, just in case you need a bit more reduction than your main damage skill needs. Fixed cast time reduction mainly comes from your foot gear and head gear. However, it can also come from costume enchants, shadow gears, accessories, and the magic essence enchant that appears on Bio 5 headgears, temporal circlets, and Helm of Faith, and Thanatos helmets. Step 3 is to figure out your variable cast time. There are two options for this: instant cast through stats and instant cast through variable cast time percentage. Usually stats will be the stronger option to go for. However, variable cast time percent can open up more gears for your build to use. It's less restrictive overall. The method you choose will depend on your class. Buffs like Inspiration from Royal Guard gives a massive amount of stats, meaning that instant cast with stats is going to be pretty easy to obtain. Same thing with Clementia on Archbishop, which gives you a bunch of dex and int. These help a massive amount for obtaining stats. However, if your class doesn't generate stats from its buffs and skills, there is Almighty Shadow Gear, which is shadow accessories that give plus 10 to all stats, and you can wear 2 of them. So those can help cover for all the stats that you would normally be missing. For stats, you need 530 casting points in order to completely reduce variable cast time. Every 1 int gives you 1 casting point, and every 1 dex gives you 2 casting points. A simple formula is your dex times 2 plus your int equals 530. One of the best gears I already mentioned was the Almighty Shadow Gears that increase your stats by 10 at plus 10 refine. And you get to wear 2 of them, which is 60 casting points. You can also use the Almighty Consumable, which is just food that gives plus 10 to all stats. So that's another 30 points. Stats can be hard to find on other gears, but will most commonly come from Illusion Dungeon shield enchants, like Rune of Dexterity and Rune of Intelligence, Bio 5 headgear enchants, and a few other kind of random stat enchants between 1 to 5 of a single stat. Variable cast time reduction can be found on many gears and many cards. They can literally appear on every type of gear, including shadow gears, costume enchants, and regular enchantments. Step 4 is to get enough cast delay reduction to spam your skill as much as possible. There is a formula to calculate this. To calculate how much cast delay reduction you need, type this into a calculator. First, 0.14, or your skill's cooldown if it's higher than 0.14. Second, divide the first number by the cast delay of your skill. This is shown in the skill description on MooRO. If you play on a different server, you're going to have to find the value yourself. Third, multiply your number by 100. Fourth, subtract 100 from your number. Now ignore the negative symbol, pretend it's not there, and this is the amount of cast delay reduction that you need on your gear. Keep in mind that this does not account for skill animations, which may cause you to require less cast delay than normal, unless you use a transformation effect that could unlock the animation. But in general, you can ignore this factor. Step 5 is getting enough attack speed to spam your skill. To calculate how much attack speed you need, type this into a calculator. First, type 1 divided by 0.14, or your skill's cooldown if it's higher than 0.14. This number that shows up is your goal. Since this is messy in a standard calculator, I will provide the most common values to keep this friendly for those who aren't so good with math and calculators and all that stuff. I'm not going to say them out loud, I'm just going to put them on screen because I can put a lot more of them just easily there. You can see them all. Keep in mind, even if you don't need high attack speed for your skill, it still also shortens your animation time for skills. So having more attack speed than you need is perfectly fine. And finally, step 6. Fill the rest of your gear and card slots with as much damage modifiers as you can. There is an order of damage modifiers that you should generally use. However, keeping modifiers kind of equal or near each other tends to be the best method to get the most damage. For physical skills, first priority is skill damage, ranged damage, melee damage, and critical damage. Obviously, only choose the ones that affect your skill. If your skill doesn't deal critical hits, critical damage isn't going to do anything. Second priority is all race damage, all element damage, and all enemy size damage. Final priority is things like attack percent or raw attack bonuses. P attack, C rate, and power bonuses are also strong options to choose for increasing physical damage. For magical skills, everything is kind of just the same. They aren't really limited in their order the same way physical modifiers are, because the magic damage formula is a lot simpler and straightforward. S magic attack and spell are also strong options for magical damage. Bonus step 7, figure out if your skill ignores defense or magic defense. If it does not, which most skills do not, you need to find a way to 100% penetrate defense or magic defense. Full penetration shadow gear or true tempest shadow gear is the best way to obtain this. That's all the steps I go through in order to theorycraft a build. The process of searching through gear does take some time, however, so I would say it might take you an hour or two to fully put together a build if it's your first time. I have a list of most of the gears on MooRO that you can sift through to find the better gear easier. I will link my wiki page in the description below. I'm also going to work on an Excel spreadsheet that can calculate your cast delay and attack speed and a few other things like automatically for you. You just enter like the skill you're using, I guess. However, that's going to come at a later date whenever I make it. Once I make it, I will put it in the description on my wiki page and on my Discord. Anyways, that's it. I hope this video helps you to start theory crafting your own builds. As always, if the video helped, subscribe, like, share the video with friends, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!